Good afternoon, I guess, everyone. Welcome to Root Camp, our second in our six-part series, I think. Where's Sarah when I need her? I'm Rachael Jungblut. I'm a senior program manager here at Grand Rapids Community College. Normally, I do not do presentations on gardening. But Sarah, who is part of our sustainability team and one of our trainers here, we work in the same department, and over the last 10 years that I've been here on campus, she has learned a little bit about me and what I do and what I like to do. And so when she came up with her gardening series, she said, "Oh, you're a master gardener. You can help me." So here I am today to talk to you about seeds and getting started. But a little bit about the temperature in this room. We are doing a gardening simulation. And you are all the guinea pigs. You are going to pretend that you are the very hardy plants and can tolerate temperatures between 40 and 60 degrees, okay? So hopefully by the time we're done with this hour together, it will be up to 70 and it'll feel like June. So then we'll discuss when you're going to actually bear fruit, right? You know, I don't know why it's so cold in here, but we are working on it. So FYI. So hopefully the cold air will keep your attention on what I'm going to talk to you about today. So the idea is that this is an interactive session. I really don't like, personally, when I go to sessions and I get talked at. I like to be talked with. So I want you, and I encourage you to join me in that. So any question is a good question. Please do not feel like that you can't answer a question. And hopefully I'll impart some information on you that's new to you. For those of you that have been gardening for a number of years or that start your own seeds now or do things like that already, this will seem very elementary to you. But for those of you who are new to gardening, who usually buy seedlings or who want to try something new or are just here to meet other people and meet other gardeners in West Michigan, then I hope you take that away with you. A little bit about me and how I ended up being a master gardener, although I was speaking with a couple of participants in the back and they said, "You don't look like a gardener at all." I said, "Well, just because your nails aren't dirty doesn't mean you don't like dirt." I decided I was working for an organization in my 20s that sent me to Cleveland, Ohio. A very exciting city, except I was there alone all week. I had a little efficiency apartment, and I had a staff that I was helping turn around one of our entities. And one of the staff members was going to an event that evening, and she said, "Hey, do you want to go along?" Because she knew I was there by myself, and I refused to go out alone in the city. So she invited me along, and it was a gardening group that she was involved in. And they were all going to be starting the Master Gardener series at the local community college a few weeks after that. So I said, okay, I'll go do it. So I went and actually got my Master Gardener designation and spent that free time that I had while I was in Cleveland at night volunteering all around the community and different types of activities that they had available to us. Now the interesting thing about that is I grew up in a family of farmers. My mother is the 5th child of 10, big dairy, cattle, pig, chicken, corn, soy, wheat. So we had a 1-acre garden, and there were a lot of weeds. And that was my job from the time I was about 4 years old until the time I went off to college. I was in charge of all of the weeds. So I learned quite a bit about gardening through our family tree, which has now become what feels like a forest when you have 10 aunts and uncles, which then proceed to have all kinds of cousins and fun stuff, many of which are farmers today. So most of my experience comes from hard-earned trial and error. Gardening for me is about 80-20. It's 20% science and 80% behavior. How many of you have children? Show of hands. How many of you have pets? How many of you have houseplants that are alive? Oh, excellent. Okay, good group. So if you could keep a houseplant alive and you can nurture your pet and your children, then gardening should come naturally to you. Because gardening is, and having plants of different varieties, etc., is nurturing. You nurture, you grow, and you harvest, right? You reap the benefits of your labor. So we're going to start cruising the seed catalog. And Betsy, do you need me? Okay, good. Sarah, can you do my handouts for me? I have some handouts, visual aids. There were all kinds of ways I could take this session today, but I thought we would do a decoding of a seed catalog. So I have the front page of Johnny Seeds catalog, which is all available to you online. If you are not internet users, you can also call several 1-800 numbers, and I'd be happy to share those with you. I have a whole list of them up here, and a request a free seed catalog. You can also do that online. And you can also peruse all of the beautiful photos of all of their show-stopping fruits and vegetables that they have. Now, how many of you have gardened before and not had show-stopping results? Excellent. Okay, good. I'm feeling your pain. Even after you nurtured and nurtured and nurtured that plant, right? So hopefully today I'm going to give you a few tips to help you plan, help you think about getting organized, because now's the time to get organized. And then hopefully come mid-March, early April, you're set on the right path for the next part of the series. They do talk about starting seedlings. There's going to be a whole session on that. So I'm not going to cover that today. But what I want you to think about is over the years of volunteering and working with various gardeners, and even knowing for myself is that behavior piece. So when you think about what you're going to plant, think about how you're going to have to behave to interact with that plant. Okay, how much water does it need? How much sunlight does it need? Any of you ever measured how much sunlight you get in your yard? However many hours you get, 8 to 10, do you get 8 to 10 hours a day in certain parts of your yard? Yeah, that's been my biggest problem as of late. I moved to a new location, a new house, and my old house we sold to a woman that her father used to own a nursery, and she bought it because she loved the flower beds and all the perennials and annuals that I had. That is really my specialty. I love that. I have not such good results with tomatoes and other vegetables. I kill them. But perennials, and so now they call her Rachel's old gardener because, back to the wedding. My sister got married this summer, sorry. So she takes care of all my other plants, and I did have a small vegetable and herb garden, which she still maintains. All right, so is this one for me? Excellent. Okay, plan, choose, and grow. Planning. Of all the master gardeners I met and all of the gardeners, just volunteer gardeners that I met, the biggest behavior, planning. They also had a striving gene. They were okay with failure, and they were okay with starting over. Think about how you portray those behaviors about yourself. Are those going to be transferred onto your plants? Because those are going to be critical to your success. All right, planning, choosing, growing. This is from Johnny Seeds. This is using the catalog. Of course, there's always a number, product, part, description number, right? It's going to be important when you place your order. The name. There's all kinds of really cool names. I don't know where they come up with all of these, but of course there's always the Latin names, but they then give them a traditional name. The hybrid indication, are they heirloom seeds or are they a hybrid seed? Life cycle. This is going to be very important to you for planning. Okay. Catalog, okay. Other symbols is number 5. Number 6, the most critical one. The number of days this product will need to reach the maturity for harvest or flowering. So, if you choose a tender plant, and we'll cover very hardy, tender, or heat tolerant, when you should be thinking about planting these, that'll be what we'll cover next. You really need to think about, when you choose seeds, how long is it going to take them to bear fruit, and when will that be? Is that going to be in the month of August when you're at your cottage for the whole 3 weeks that you're going to get your tomatoes, or when you're going to get your corn? So very important. Disease resistance. How many of you try to use organic practices when you garden? Okay, good. I do too. I'm not a big chemical kind of person. So diseases, those of us who do organic gardening, diseases are not our favorite friend. So when you're thinking about choosing seeds, you want to look at their tolerance or disease resistance. When they're hybrids, they're bred specifically to not attract those types of diseases that are common in some of the heirloom plants. Number 8 is in the Johnny Seed catalog is just another variation of the Latin name. It tells you, of course, if the product is new. Every year they're coming out with new things. I can hardly keep up. I don't know about you. It's a little like technology. There's always new seeds. And then key features of the product. What are you going to get out of it if you purchase it? The sizes and quantities that they sell it in, and of course, if you're buying seeds in the thousands, you're extremely ambitious. And you probably own a very large tractor. So that's why I gave you this little decoder, because it's very important before you delve into and get romanced by all the beautiful pictures in seed catalogs that you stop and take a minute to figure out what all these symbols mean, because they matter when you make your choices. So I'm going to switch over here for a second to just some slides. Now, I do have to make a disclaimer. I am not a very good person with PowerPoint. PowerPoint and I, we're on a slow learning curve. And one of the staff members tried to help me today and give me a set of really cool slides that say root camp all over them. They were really cute. I couldn't get them to work. So this is very organic PowerPoint slides. And normally I don't make disclaimers. It just is what it is. And so my apologies if you were expecting something fancy and flowerful. But it's very important when you think about seeds. I really like to group them into 4 categories. Things that are very hardy, that you can plant the seeds directly in the ground, or you could start them inside. Depends on how much space you have, how much equipment you have, how much money you have to invest in gardening. 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost. When is the last frost? July. Well, who said that? You're probably right. 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost, which is about end of April, May, depends on the year. Okay? So, if you were really planning ahead and you had prepared your soil, you could pop out to your garden and put some of these in. Now, I have some highlighted in green because part of the topic was what's easy. Things that are you don't have to think much about. Broccoli, kohlrabi. Who eats kohlrabi in this room? Anyone? Oh, excellent. I thought I'd get a lot of questions about what kohlrabi really was. Onions. Well, it's part of the cabbage family. It tastes a little bit licoricey, like what's the anise? And you can, it tastes like a little bit like fennel. It's in the same family. Excellent. You can eat it raw, or you can, steam it. You can roast it. You can do all kinds of stuff with kohlrabi. Onions and peas. Easy. Don't require a ton of care. You can direct seed them in the ground. You could start them inside if you wanted to as well, but usually will produce minimal or maximum dependent upon your soil. I know the first session was about soil. That was one of my specialties when I was in the Master Gardening series, how to get the proper soil mix. It's always a challenge. So easy, very hardy. Frost tolerant. So those first ones could tolerate a frost. The next ones, probably they can't go out as early, but still 2 to 3 weeks before the date of the last frost. Beets, carrots, cauliflower, chard, Chinese cabbage, mustard greens, parsnips, and radishes. How many of you actually eat your 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day? Wow. I just got my new Women's Health. It was both in my Women's Health and my Cooking Light magazine this month. About less than 20% of the population, not including vegetarians, so less than 20% of the population actually eats the right amount of vegetables and fruits a day. So think about what you buy now in the grocery store. When you're thinking about what's easy and what's good for you, what do you buy now? What do you find yourself buying every week that you could potentially produce on your own? The other thing about these things that are easy is some of them can be frozen, etc. I'll cover that. Tender, very tender plants. You can direct seed these or plant after the average date of late frost. So you really shouldn't be putting these in until that first part of May or mid-May. Depends, could be July. Basil. Who loves pesto in this room? Love it. Beans, spinach, summer squash, sweet corn, and the ever-popular tomatoes. There are so many varieties of tomatoes, you could get lost. Zucchini, yeah, it's part of the squash family. And then the last ones are super hot weather plants. They really need warm temperatures to survive. Direct seed, cucumbers, sensitive, eggplants, muskmelon, okra. Anybody eat okra regularly in here? Oh, very nice. Peppers, pumpkins, watermelons, and winter squash. Notice anything about these? Cucumbers, eggplants, muskmelon, pumpkin, watermelon, winter squash. What do you need? A lot of room. The vining plants. So if you are an urban gardener or a container gardener, which are also fabulous ways to get your own fruits and vegetables, these might not be the best choices for you unless you are really creative and you build yourself something that they can vine up on. I've tried that before. I was only successful once. It looked really cool until I got a really heavy watermelon, and then the whole thing just was all bad. Yeah. So I'm sure we all have. Oh, question. Oh, go back. Oh, yeah, see, or. Excellent. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's an or, not enough. Oh, sure. We'll go back to tender one more time. What do you need if you're going to grow sweet corn? Space, sun, lots of sun. So if you don't have the 8 to 10 hour thing, probably not such a good choice this first time around. So things just to, the hot time, well, you want the soil or the air, well, you know, you have soil and air temperature, right? Okay, so you have, the hot time really is where at night, okay, so I like to test things by night, not by day. So at night, it doesn't get too much below 50, okay? And your soil temperature is at least equal or much greater than that, okay? 50 is kind of your cut point. Things to remember. Planning. One other key trait about many successful gardeners that I have met is planning. They are planners, man. They know exactly what's going to go in their garden, when, where, how. They have it drawn out literally to scale on a piece of paper. They are planners. Me, I'm a flip chart, and I think I'm going to put maybe that over here and that there. You know, that's, I'm a little more like that. But, so when you think about your plan, where you plant things and plant size matters. So when you're cruising your seed catalog and you're looking at how high do these plants get? Do I put the basil in front of the green peppers, or do I put the basil next to? Of course I'm going to put those, the corn in the back, but in the back, does it get enough sun? Okay, are you planting east to west, or are you planting north to south? Okay, you should be planting north to south, correct? But what is the orientation? Depends on where your house is. Depends on where your barn is, if you have that. Depends on if you're a community gardener. It depends on where you got your plot, right? Depends on where you were assigned. So those are the things you're going to want to check and think about when you're planning to choose seeds. Temperature, very important. I'm kind of a conservative when it comes to temperature. I like it to be a little bit warmer, and sometimes I find that I wait too long. Okay, I've learned that. It is a lot warmer in here, though, isn't it? Can you feel that? Doesn't that feel a lot better? The gardening simulation is over. Sorry, but so I tend to be a bit more conservative. But when you really think about some of those early ones, the very hardy and the hardy plants, they actually can tolerate quite a bit. And if you're an overprotective parent of your plant and your little seedlings, some of you get real creative with your milk cartons or your sheets over them at night in case there might be a potential frost, or there even is talk of frost. You know, I some days don't even watch the news because I like to live in the what's really going to happen with the weather, not what's hypothetically going to happen with the weather. So I tend to avoid all the news reports and just kind of look outside and use my gut, because you know, not to say I don't appreciate a forecast, but we're in Michigan. The weather can change on a dime, right? And I also like to kind of go with what I call the rhythms of the earth. Those of you who are you know, understand all of the seasonal indications, the winter, summer, spring, fall solstice, all those types of things. Those dates are really important because it works with temperature of the earth changing and all those other types of things. I like to kind of go by the spring solstice, summer solstice, so that March 2021 depends on where it falls every year, and that June 2021. Those are good indicator days for me. So hopefully by March, that's about the time I'm really getting serious about really paying attention to the weather, so I know when I can get outside and do that direct seeding. Also, a lot depends on what's going on out there, right? Sometimes at that time in March, we still have 3, 4, 5 inches of snow, sometimes more. I'll never forget, I got married in April, and the middle of April, April 19, and the weekend before our wedding, it snowed a foot. And all I could think of was, no, this is not supposed to happen. But it can happen. It's Michigan. It was April. So, you know, kind of pay attention to what's going on. All right, time to get moving around. Activity time. Before we start, any questions? Don't look at that. Let me see. Okay, questions. Any questions before we get started? Really? Oh yeah. The qualities of a gardener, really like the super successful gardeners that I met. Striving. Okay, so that's striving is a characteristic that you always are searching for the goal. And if something gets in the way while you get to the goal or you have a little failure, you don't stop. You keep going. You might have to start over. It's okay. You just keep going. You're striving all the time. Planning and striving. Those are excellent. Actually, planning can be linked to work discipline. But that's a completely different subject, completely different thing I teach on. We're not going to go there today. All right, activity. Now, I want you, so we're going to work in rows. We're going to have 4 little groups. So the first 2 rows, you guys are going to work together. Second 2 rows, you guys are going to work together. Wait a minute. How'd we end up with all these odd numbers? Oh, we have a row back there too. Okay. All right, well, all right, so how about we'll do 3. We'll do 3 rows in the front. We'll do 3 rows in the middle. But only have 4, not 5. Oh, math, not my best subject. Yeah, okay, good thing. That, and I haven't had lunch yet, and I'm one of those people that if you don't eat, blood sugar, bottoms out. Although I did have sugar snap peas for breakfast, so I'm feeling pretty good about getting 1 vegetable in. All right, time for you to cruise the seed catalog in groups. I have a little activity for you. Okay, so this is going to be, this first group, you guys are going to be my carrots group. I'll tell you what to do in a minute. This second group, you guys are going to be my tomato group. You have a lot of responsibility. You guys are my squash group. And FYI, the vegetable of the day is butternut squash. So we'll cover that before we leave. And this last group, you guys are my bean group. You ready? All right, so a little bit of activity. I'd like you to work together. I only printed 5 of these. The whole idea is that you work together. Meet the person next to you. This might be your fellow gardening mentor, gardening partner, etc. Share the papers. And what I want you to do is, that's why we have these little easels here. So in each one of your groups, you'll have to elect a leader or a talker, someone who is not afraid to talk in front of a group of people. And I want you to choose, which veggie are you? So out of my 4 groups, I want you to choose a variety. Which variety are you going to be? I want you to tell us, when do we plant you? I want you to tell us how many days until you mature. And I want you to tell us how much you cost. Because, cost is important when you're buying seeds. And then we're going to have, a get-to-know-you group question, which is always fun, to just talk amongst yourselves. With your selected veggie, how many of you actually eat that chosen veggie at least once every 2 weeks? Because I bet all of you are not eating butternut squash every week. If you are, I need to meet you. So does any clarification on the directions? If you don't want to work together, that's okay. But these are printouts from Johnny's Seed Catalog. And they have all the little symbols, all the things I talked to you about earlier. So you're going to want to read all of those to find out which are going to work in our environment here in Michigan. How you guys doing? You almost done? All right, we'll start up at the front, and you guys can finish in the back here with our little exercise. Okay, so who's going to tell us about what our bean group chose? Did you pick a speaker? Uh-oh, okay. I'll help you. Oh, your carrots. Well, you know, okay, look what happened. I made an assumption. I read sugar snap. This is why I wear glasses, because I can't see far away. This actually says snack with like an X. So you guys chose the sugar snack carrots. So we plant you 2 to 3 weeks before the last frost, so around April, and we can plant you right in the ground, right? Okay. We could start you inside, but it's easier to just plant you outside. Why? Yes. Especially, yeah, these very difficult to transplant. You are correct. 68 days to maturity. So potentially by the first part of June, you're going to be eating fabulous sugar snack carrots. Now, did you guys have any conversation about planting again after this April date? So carrots, because they're hardy, you can plant them several progressions of them. So you could plant a little bit in April, plant a little bit in May, plant a little bit in June. So you plant a little in July. It might be a little too hot in July because they like cooler soils to seed. So, but then you'll have carrots all the way through till the end of the season. In fact, some of these may even go all the way through to, first part of September or so. Oh. Gardener tip. Okay. 1 foot every week. Then he has progression all summer. Now, one thing about carrot seeds, they are really tiny. Tiny, 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 tiny seeds. So when you do the seed, how to start seed thing, make sure you ask about the seed tape. Have you guys ever done a seed tape? Okay, do you own toilet paper? Do you own glue? And do you own a pair of tweezers? This is great if you have kids, especially 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds that need more hand-eye coordination besides video games. 12 inches, you could do a foot, 2 foot, whatever you want to do. Run a little dab of glue and drop a little dab of seed. You can plant that right into the ground in a row. Bam, your carrots are done, okay? Seed tapes, you can start making those now. You can use any kind of the non-toxic, water-based, Elmer's, you probably have it sitting around your house. Anything that is biodegradable, all the glues you can eat, the sticks they make for the kids. Okay, they make those because kids eat them, right? Well, they're fine for the soil. They're not going to hurt it. And then your little seed sticks right to there. It's all ready to go. Fold the toilet paper a few times so it's got a little bit of thickness so that when you roll it out and you put a little water on there, it'll hold the water for a little longer. Okay, that'll help your seeds. $2.95 for a package. Normally seeds, they come anywhere, depends on where you get them, who packages them, etc. Anywhere between 15 and 30 seeds. Carrots will come much greater than that because they're small, so they may be as high as 50. And 93% of you eat carrots more than once every 2 weeks. Excellent. Well, the carrots are easy because they're already cleaned and ready to go in the store, those little carrot thingies. Okay? Have you ever watched How's It Made? You should watch that show because it tells you how they make those little carrot things. Just FYI. I'm a buy 'em and peel 'em kind of girl once I saw that. So, FYI, where your food comes from matters. Okay, so you guys pick tomatoes. Do you have a spokesperson? See? It's the girl with the microphone. She has to do all the talking. All right. Tomatoes. Ooh, Cherokee purple. Very nice selection. Okay, plant in mid-May, 72 days to maturity. So what's that going to be? first part of August, okay? Definitely not having the big juicy tomatoes from your garden on the 4th of July burgers, okay? But still a great choice. $2.95 and you're gonna start these inside yourself. Tomatoes, not, I haven't had good luck. Some people can, depends on where they live, plant them right, seeds right in the ground and go. I like to pre-seed these myself, or now as I've gardened for a number of years, I just go to my local nursery and buy the seedlings already ready for me. It just seems easier for me with tomatoes. But some of you might be very handy and really want to try it. Oh, we have another one too, Brandywine. Oh, another good choice. Indoors, transplant early June, 78 days, so pretty similar in maturity, $2.95. And you probably get anywhere between 15 and 30 again, potential plants, 20, okay, about 20. And how many of you eat tomatoes? Almost every, oh, see, look, 93%. See, look, see, you choose things you like. Seeing a similarity here? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Well, that's a really good question. I hate answering questions with "it depends," but it depends. For tomatoes, you usually want to make sure there's at least 3 to 4 good solid leaves that have started, okay, or maybe even more. Usually that means the plant is at a minimum of 6 inches, could be 7 or 8. Some people hold them inside even longer, depends on what's going on outside. Some people move them from their house to the front porch where it's a little more sheltered, or maybe on the side of the garage where it's a little more sheltered, just to acclimate them to the temperature outside, the different sun patterns. Because where you start your seeds indoors, if you're starting your seed with a light, it's getting direct sunlight perfect all the time that you have your light on for the 16 hours a day. Or if you put it in front of a certain window, so say you put it in front of a southern or western facing window in your home, and then you move it outside and your porch is on the east side of your house, completely different lighting conditions, completely different air temperature conditions. So you just have, it really depends where you live, what you do, but at least 6 to 8 inches, you know, 3 or 4 stalks of good solid leaves. And with tomatoes, I like to plant my tomatoes in something that's biodegradable, as like a peat pot, or you can make your own with newspaper. Okay, if you're handy with the internet, you can find all kinds of gardening websites that will give you a really neat little origami folding session on making your own little pots. Because I find if I move the tomatoes roots around too much, they're just sensitive, okay, they're tender. So I just plant them in something that's biodegradable that I can put it right in the soil, right in that little pot. Do you really? Oh, yes. Yes, okay, exactly. Tomatoes, if you notice this as they're seeding, the stems get really bumpy, right? Those are new roots trying to form. So what she's talking about is when she moves them from her house to the garden, she plants all the way up almost to that first set of leaves, because it's going to root itself more. Also depends determinate, indeterminate. Okay, we didn't cover that. However, those of you who got tomatoes, and when you're studying tomatoes in your seed catalogs, that matters. Bush, or do they need to be staked? Okay, bush or vine. There's 2 different types. So these are all the things you have to take in consideration when you're choosing your seeds. Those of you who are container gardeners, you might want to consider the bush variety. They're a little bit easier. If you have large containers where it can hold a cage or something, then great, you can have the vining variety, but just FYI. Okay, moving on, because we're going to run out of time and I have giveaways. All right, spaghetti squash. Oh, yay, squash family. The first time I served this to my children, I got the, "Are you serious?" look. But they did eat it just to make their mother happy. Okay, so hot weather, mid-June, plant after the last frost. Okay, good. 88 days to maturity, so a nice fall, late summer fall vegetable. $4.50 for an ounce of seeds. Wow, that's a lot of seeds. All those squash seeds are a little bit bigger. Okay, you have to think pumpkin. When you clean your squash, what comes out? Okay, those are the seeds. Seasonally, 5 of us eat them regularly. There are 5 vegetarians in this group. Great that you eat spaghetti squash regularly. Bush beans, yay! What is this? What does that mean? That's the name? Oh, the number. Okay, purple. Oh, you guys chose a purple bean. Very fun. Plant in May, 10 to 15 days after the last frost. 50 days until we get to eat them, so July-ish, right? 1 pack, $2.95. 7 of you eat beans at least every 2 weeks. Awesome. Another thing I like to do with beans, again, that succession planting, so ever many weeks, okay? It'll extend the growing season just a little bit. Then you're also not harvesting all of your beans at one time, okay? I love to garden, but sometimes if I don't plan properly, I end up with too many of something at one time, and I can not eat all of them, or I just get sick of eating it, right? So just think about that. Mm-hmm. Oh, when you... I'm going to give you a it depends answer again. A lot depends on where you planted it, how much sun it's getting, what kind of airflow you get, but if you're doing early lettuce, so if you've done that April-ish early lettuce, some varieties will go all the way through the end of June. They can manage some of those 60, 70 degree days where it still gets a little bit cooler at night. Once it starts to not get below that 58, 60 range at night is where you'll start to see your lettuce not produce as well. There are varieties that will go longer, and of course there's all different types of lettuce varieties. So the ones you plant later, romaine, there's all kinds of other ones that you can plant later that will produce better in the heat of the summer. All right, so great questions. Did you guys like the little activity? So you put to use the fact that you had to use symbols. You had to really understand what those meant for you in order to answer these questions. You had to think about the plan of when am I actually going to be able to eat this. So days to maturity matters when you're planning. Again, you see 68, 88, 78 days. If you're not careful, you're going to end up with a lot of produce at one time, right? So just planning. Get that planning gene active and alive in yourself. How many of you are canners? Yeah, me too. Love that. Yes. So those of you who are canners, yep, think about that. Planning, key. One thing, resources. Man, I'll tell you, there's so many books. I need a platinum visa to Schuler's and Barnes and Noble some days. But this is one of my most favorite authors, James Frizzle. He has written a couple books very specific to Michigan, and I have found them to be very, very helpful for me and very accurate. A lot of times you just collect so much information over the years, and you may not do the same plants every year. It may go for a couple years before you have another one. So always having a resource to quick flip back to, have a little library. Okay, so I have some giveaways. We have some seeds to get you started. Oh, one more question, one more. Some only produce 5 or 6 and then they're done. Or yes, or well, cucumbers are tender, so you don't have a whole lot of time to progressive plant them because the first snip of cold in September, but you can progressive plant them, and you just probably need to plant more of them. A lot depends on how much space you have to be able to do that because they're viney. And different varieties will produce more. Excellent question. How long can I keep my seeds if I don't use them all in the same year? Funny that you asked this question because Sarah and I had this exact discussion. I'm a only keep them 1 to 2 years kind of person. Sarah's a keep them for forever. I don't know exactly when I used them, and I'll use them again. It's depends answer. There are all kinds of information. There is a ton of information on how long you should keep seeds. Certain varieties 1 to 2 years, others 3 to 4. It depends. It depends on if it's a hybrid, if it's an heirloom, those types of things. Seed storage, any of the seeds that you would buy through a catalog, all of them have resources on seed storage. If you are a buy seeds at Meijer or Fruit Basket or wherever, that's fine too. But just a quick internet search will help you. 2 years is about my maximum of how long I'll keep them. Some people can keep them longer. It also depends on if you wad them up and put them in a bag and leave them in the garage, or if you take very careful care of them and package them up nice and bring them in your house and you have a great dry storage closet where you keep them where it's really dark and nothing's going to happen. They're not going to get wet and all that kind of stuff. A lot depends on storage. You know, you would think that that's a good idea. I'm going to give you, it depends again. It depends on the seed. Some people have very good success with that. I don't recommend it personally. If they freeze, well, they really won't freeze, so to speak. I mean, they'll get, I mean, you could damage them, yes. It was cold? Well, okay, so I'm going to table that question for later. Okay, giveaways, quick, because I just, if you, right. It's 1 o'clock. We got to get you out of here. But let me tell you who won. Sarah's been diligently drawing all these fabulous names. So, John Miner, Mary Jopi? Okay, perfect, Jopi. Linda Carr, Kathleen Soiko? Have you seen Jungblut? Jungblut, if you're speaking good German today. Gloria Timmers. Marissa Mewitz. How am I doing on the names here? Just, you know, my apologies up front. Becky Gregory. Lori Schott. Paul DeVries. Catherine Dreher. Very nice. Don Stump. I bet there's some gardening joke there, but we'll just leave that one alone. Aaron Spratling. Mary Novak. And Karen Gillette.